Hey guys, welcome to my tactics video for FM13 with my Brighton team. Now, I just want to clear up a few things very quickly. This is not an actual tactic for a Brighton team, as in the starting Brighton team, in 2012-2013 season. I'll probably be making another video of one of them very soon, so check back if you want one of them. This really isn't going to be much help for people actually looking for tactics help. This is essentially just me showing off my team. I mean, of course, stick around if you are after that. You might learn a few things, how I sort of set the team up, little formations I use, etc. But generally, this isn't going to be this isn't going to be a help video. This is just going to be me showing off, basically, or not even showing off, just sort of showing you my team. So, yeah, let's get cracking into it then. So, what do I do? Generally, I've got the two formations here. It says 4-3-3. It's not really a 4-3-3 as such. It's more of a 4-2-3-1 formation with the striker up top. You've got these sort of two defensive midfielders. Kind of similar, pretty much what Liverpool do, really. I mean, apart from, Liverpool do that, whereas I do that, basically. And obviously got the one man up there. And obviously then if things start to go a bit pear-shaped, I just go back to the normal 4-4-2. You know how much I love 4-4-2. It is the best tactic, in my opinion. It was weird because I grew up sort of looking at tactics and stuff. The first time I saw 4-4-2 as like an actual sort of tactic, to study, was on Mike Bassett. If you've seen the Mike Bassett film, very, very funny film, you'll know they take the piss out of 4-4-2, and I was like, why? It's a great formation. I don't understand it. And obviously later on you get the jokes and stuff, but this is the backup thing. If I would recommend, if things go a bit pear-shaped, just go back to basics. Very steady, very flexible formation. Yeah, it is flexible. A lot of people say it isn't flexible enough. I disagree. We've got Jack Butland here. Well, how it is flexible, I mean, it's not necessarily flexible for players like Cuenca here, for example. If I play Cuenca there, I mean, he can still play that. Okay, he's not green. Yeah, that's completely green. If I say rating natural, but at the same time competent, that's enough. That should be good enough, really. So. I've done that. There you go. So yeah, that's what I don't use 4-4-2. I don't think I've ever used 4-4-2 actually, or maybe I've used it maybe a handful of times, because usually this formation does me so well. Anyway, I'll just build a team here very quickly. I'll probably show you my best team. This is like a team if I was going to play Manchester United or Old Trafford, for example. This is probably the team I'd put out, ignoring things such as suspensions. Look, Rodney Strasser suspended. What a surprise! Incidentally, I'm doing this at the start of the 2022-2023 season. So if you are from the future, hello, please give us next week's lottery numbers, please. Then basically you can see how the team's changed and all that, but also it's only relevant, I realise, for a short period of time. But as I say, people wanted to see the actual team, so I will show you in a bit more detail. So Jack Butland in goal. He's 29 now. He's starting to get really good maturity in him. And he's very, very competent now. He still has the odd bad game, but for what he's worth, he's very, very good little player. Jeffrey Bruma now, a great little player for Chelsea, who is, I believe, on loan. Yeah, he's on loan at Hamburg at the moment, but possibly one for the future actually at Chelsea. And then the two centre backs, I would usually play, Kyle Norton here, but he's getting on a bit now, and I probably would stick with Bruma, who has a few more years left in him. Then at this point, I would go with Lewis Dunk and Craig Dawson, two English centre-backs, so no language barriers there. And they're both also, both really good. Craig Dawson, who is, I believe, at Birmingham at the moment. Oh, sorry, West Brom, I should say. I bought him from Liverpool for for just under 3 million, even though they paid nearly 5 for him. I don't get it. That's Liverpool for you. And yeah, so he's a good player. Lewis Dunk obviously started at Brighton, who is, I believe, on trial at the moment, which isn't good because he has genuine potential, this lad. He's a really, really good little player. But unfortunately, if he gets locked away or whatever, then Brighton are a bit screwed, or at least he's messed up his career. Probably next go with Jean-Philippe Goes. Great little first regen here. Signed from Newcastle for £9 million. However, I would also possibly go with Diné. We've seen him all before. If you've been watching my FM11 series years ago, I remember him caused a bit of a ruckus with my Liverpool team. Was very, very, very inconsistent. But I think if I was going to play Man United, I'd play Part-Regen here because he is a very, very good player, very consistent. And if you have, of course, seen the last review, you'll know how important he was to the cause. Now, going into these sort of two defensive positions, you don't necessarily have to have defensive players here, although I usually do pick Strasser because, especially in a DLPD defend role, because he is very, very good at that. He's very steady and he doesn't venture forward that often. He does have the odd shot at goal, but very rarely does he actually venture forward because he'll have someone like, say, I don't know, Ganso here. I'd usually probably stick Ganso there. Probably as support. I'll do rotate sometimes. I think I usually do have him on attack. Depending on who I'm playing, most of the time it's attack. So I'll leave Ganso there. And then this leaves up this this centre mid role here. Now, for ages, it was always James Ward-Prowse would go in here and he would probably be an AP. And we'd also possibly have an AP there and then or a CM. Usually it'd be one of them two. Would have one. I wouldn't recommend usually going with two APs. It is a bit confusing, but it does work sometimes. Usually leave these as support. I'd very, very rarely, if ever, actually have any of these two at attack because we've got these attacking here. You got your attack sort of line here or with a support over there. So usually be James Ward-Prowse. However, Mikel Ferreira is really coming in now and being a real force. Ward-Prowse is still only 27. I think Ferreira definitely is the replacement for Ganso. He's 10 years younger than him, and he is definitely going to come in to replace him. We've also obviously got Rubio who can come in. Gordon's only 17. Camarota's only 19. And Cuenca is obviously getting on a little bit. So what I have in mind instead is have Wilfred Zaha. He did play up front for ages. I really did have him there as an AF. He was really, really good. But he's now drifted out wide. And for years, of course, we also had Marco Marin here. This was his spot and was always his spot. He was so good at it, but I've let him go because he is getting on a bit now and his wages were kind of high for how much he was actually going to play. So at this point, it would be a straight shootout between Wellington or Cuenca. And it's usually whoever's in the best form. However, because it is, say, the idea is we're playing Manchester United, so I probably would go with Cuenca at this point, and they do rotate. I do swap them, and you'll see later on I do sometimes ask them to swap positions. And up front we have Mohamed Attalay, also sometimes Kian Kenny, who is, I would say, bought in now from bought in from Manchester United. So, but that is how it stands. And if you all you have to do just to see what their best positions are is you'll see it on their report. Obviously got 4 stars, and the best position. Attack of advanced forwards, and as you can see, that exactly is what he is. So yeah, obviously ignore Strasser there. So I know he's on a red card. Just ignore that at the moment. I'm just to take that into account. And then usually what I do is I just ask the assistant just to pick the unpicked positions. Pick my subs for me usually. Obviously we've got Vinicius there as well, who have at this point have not really used as such, so I can't really say. Ronald Custers obviously does come in. I probably would actually pick him ahead of Lewis Dunk. In this situation I probably would pick him actually. I'll tell a lie, I probably wouldn't pick Dunk now. He's probably I don't know, it's quite a tricky situation actually. There are loads of players who I would pick. I probably would have gone with Custers actually, not Dunk. Would I have gone with Dawson? Probably swap Dawson with Dunk actually. I prefer that. That makes a lot more sense. So as you can see, if you look at the age, I talked about how I don't like players usually over the age of 32, with the exception of Ganso, who is 32, and Ganso is the exception because he's the captain and he has been a great player for me, and he's one of the better players on the game. So I will obviously keep him. He's the exception to the rule, but as you can see, there are no players. There's only one player over the age of 32, and that's Kyle Norton, and that's because he is actually a decent player, and someone who can keep up, maybe who can keep up for an extra year or two. I don't mind defenders being at that age, but Kyle Norton's one of the few exceptions I will give, and also because his contract isn't up till this season. So Kyle Norton obviously is one of the very few words to say. I generally don't allow players to go over the age of 32 usually, sometimes 33, although if they are good players and they have been loyal to the club or whatever, or they've impressed me or whatever, and they don't look like they're losing it yet, then I usually just let them continue until maybe the 36. Andrew Croft was a great example. I'll let him go all the way till he retired. So just a point on that. So that's the team I probably would pick to, and it's actually picked Nowakowski, hasn't it? Did I pick Nowakowski? Hang on. What's going on here? Did I pick Nowakowski or did I pick someone else? I picked Stroud because Strass isn't suspended. That's my fault. I would pick Strass there. Nowakowski, though, is going to be his replacement for sure. He's only 25. And again, he's just more of a rotate. He's another very good rotation option. It's worth, as you can see there now, £16 million. I think I got him for like free. But Strasser, I say, he's been very, very loyal to me. He's been a very good player, signed for basically nothing. Like £5,000 or something in 2013, 2014. And, you know, he's been great ever since. So, especially if I was going to Old Trafford, I probably would have a more defensive team. Nowakowski, although he does play, I'd probably put him as support there. Because, you know, be a bit more attacking. Say we're playing, I don't know, Millwall at home. You know, it'd be a bit more attacking, a bit open, perhaps. You know, say even Nowakowski, maybe change him to CM and have him as attack. You know, but that is quite rare, as I say. That is pretty rare. But I usually do have my DLP there. I'd have a deep line playmaker and an advanced playmaker to like them two to accompany each other. And yeah, that is pretty much the team I would pick if I was going to play Manchester United. So, but obviously go into a bit more detail now. I generally don't fiddle around with this too much, as you've got to sort of switch it for every little team you pick, and I don't like to do that because, you know, generally that means their familiarity with the formation and the instructions and so on it takes longer to hit full peak, which is what you want. So I generally leave these for most of the time. Style, I leave it balanced. I don't see any reason why to change it. Strategy obviously changes on the fly. I can change that at any time. However, the starting strategy is always standard. You know, it's, let's see, it doesn't actually say it there, but, you know, usually it does say, you know, weigh up the situation. That's what it actually says. So, you know, always start there. Unless, you know, I am playing against, like, someone from the conference, then obviously we'll change that to attacking. But yeah, I usually just leave that standard, and then say 10 minutes in, we'll see, you know, have we scored? We'll weigh up the game. You know, have we scored? Are we 2-0 up? Are we 3-0 down? Are we, you know, what? So we'll obviously change that as that comes. Passing style, I leave that to direct. I tend to get quite annoyed with short passing, you know, little diddy Barcelona passing. I'm not a fan of that at all. I mean, don't get me wrong, it looks brilliant. You know, Barcelona are not the best at it, but we're not Barcelona. So I tend to have the more direct passing. As you can see, a lot of default stuff. Again, as I say, because you just mess around with it too much. It can throw the team. It can change the familiarity, you know, and all this. And generally, I leave it at default. The only other change I make is the man marking. Sometimes I do change it to the more aggressive tackling. However, be wary of that. If you leave it on for, like, you know, all the time, that will result in a lot of red cards, especially when you've got, you know, red card happy players like Rodney Strasser there, who's been sent off basically every season at least once. Closing down, I did have Pressmore on for a while, but unfortunately that does result in a lot of leaky goals from what I can tell. If you know, especially if you're playing, unless you are actually, let me rephrase that. Yeah, if you are playing, say, you know, a weaker team, I don't know, someone in, say you're in the FA Cup, then yeah, Pressmore. But generally, I just leave that at default. Just be cautious with it, and just, you know, don't try not to mess around. Creative freedom, again, I leave at default. Unless, you know, you've got a lot of players with flair. I mean, okay, yeah, Ganso has a lot of flair, Zaha's flair, Cuenca's flair, but, you know, at the same time, I don't want that to affect the whole team. So generally, if I'm going to do that, I will sort of assign it to each player as opposed to the team. Yeah, because I think what that can mean as well, creative freedom. It's like these two could start pissing around at the back. You know, we've all seen it before. You know, where players start doing a 1-2 with each other, like, you know, just outside the 18-yard box, and it's like, no, don't do that. Why are you doing that? It's because you got that on. Don't do it. Crossing, well, with Liverpool, I always had them to drill it, but now they've got, and it was drill for quite a while, but now since I brought Kenny in, if you have a target man, leave it at default. But if you have, you know, these sort of speedy little buggers like Atale and Zaha and so on, you know, sort of, you know, speed type players who rely on being advanced forwards and poachers, leave it at default or drill. Not even drill. Sorry, leave it at default. Sorry, I'll rephrase that again. I'm getting confused now. If you have a target man, leave it at default. If you have speedy little players, put it to drill. That's what I meant to say. Good grief. You know, smaller players. I mean, Atelay's hardly big. You know, I mean, he's 180 centimeters, which is something like 5'10", 9, 8. I think I'm something like that. I think I'm like that. I'm like 5'8". So yeah. So yeah, that's just a little thing there. And roaming, I'd leave it default. I don't want to. I think I find that to be a bit of a risky thing there. So I just leave that use. I don't think I've ever done that again. If I'm going to look at roaming, it's something I would assign to sort of individuals as opposed to the whole team. Defensive line, this has got gradually more to the right as we've gotten better. In the Championship I left it at normal. When we got to the Premier League I pushed it back a bit, as a newly promoted club. And then we got established Premier League club, so I put it back to default. And then we started challenging for the title, so I moved it up a bit. And as you can see again, it's sort of there now. You're one away from push up basically. So to insinuate that we are attacking, but we're not too attacking, and we're not going to dominate completely, because we always run the risk of counter attacking and so on. This is just me. This is just my personal preference. I always like wide play, especially when you've got quality players like Cuenca and Zaha on the wings. Leave them at wide, although it is one away from normal. Just one little push, and it's out wide. So there you go. I do play offside and counter attacking. Time wasting, I just leave it normal. Tempo, I leave it normal. Playmakers, Ganso. Target man's Atalay. And if it was just to head to feet, I would be on to feet. But because you have run to ball as well, what you don't want to do is, because all three can be very useful. So I just have them on mixed. Especially if I'm going to bring Kenny into the team. Who will need at his head pretty much all the time. He's 6'2" or something. I mean, that's not massive by any stretch of the imagination. But I mean, it's still pretty big, but he's not ginormous. So yeah, just that's basically a little team instructions I've got for that. Player wise, I don't usually mess with these very often. I'll sort of if I'm going to change it, it'll be on a game by game basis. So there's nothing set here because it's a brand new season. Usually the computer will do this for you, but unless you have something in mind, I wouldn't bother changing this. Set pieces, again, the computer usually does this for you. But again, unless you have a set plan, don't bother with it. Captains, I probably need to do these actually. You can do your captains, not particularly difficult. So yeah, there's just my little insight into the tactics that I use. If I was going to play, I'll show you my weak team, or not necessarily weak team, but if I was playing like a Conference North team or something in the FA Cup, this is what I'd do. So I'd probably play Panucci. I'd play Pardo, Lombardi, Maglione, Ricky, or Richie, or I'm going to call him Ricky. Let's see, I'll probably also play. See, in centre mid, I would have Gautier and Rubio, Camarota, Ferrer, who is still offside. Realised he is an established first team player now, but I might as well play him because can get a little bit touchy at times. And we'll have Wellington out on the right and Campos up front. So yeah, that's just a little insight into my thing. Then obviously we'd have the subs and have a strong bench. But yeah, there's a sort of just a very quick insight as to the team. And hopefully this could be the first team, in say 10 years or something, or 5 years. So yeah, that's just a little quick insight into my tactics. Hopefully you have learned something if that's what you came for. If not, look out for the actual Brighton video where I'll go over the tactics I used to get promoted in the first season. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Give the video a like if you want, and I will see you next time. So it's bye bye from me.